Welcome back to Attitude, Effort, Results, presented by Teamwork Online and the Clubhouse. I'm your host, Tanner Natzke. Today we have another great guest. I know you guys are getting really sick of having the best people in the world on here, but we're going to keep doing it for you. Actually, last week, you guys have heard Travis a little bit on our Teamwork Online speaker series. This week, we're actually going to have a sit down directly with him, dive deeper into him and his career path. The senior marketing director of the San Francisco Giants. I'm excited to learn today. Again, half of this is for me, half of this is for you, because I like learning from people also. So we're going to dive into it today. I'm excited. I'm going to kick it over to Travis. Give us a little bit of the Spark Notes version of your career path and your background, and then we'll dive in and look to provide some value for everybody listening today.
Yeah. Hey, Tanner. Thank you so much for having me here. Pleasure to see you again. I'm Travis LoDolce. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing and Advertising with the San Francisco Giants. I've been with the Giants for 5 years. 18 years prior to that, I was with the Oakland A's. Started out in ticketing, eventually moved into marketing, and left the A's as Director of Marketing. I've also had short in-season stints, just game day work with the Golden State Warriors and Oakland Raiders.
I love it. So you kind of downplayed your background, which I love, because you're a very humble individual. It's interesting to hear somebody in the sports industry be in a team for as long as you're with the A's, because I think people jump around a decent amount. I'm one of those individuals. But not only on the team side have you been there, you've been in baseball on the West Coast for a really good, really healthy amount of time. Tell me a little bit about what specifically about the West Coast and about baseball have you enjoyed that have kept you in it for your career?
Yeah, I'm about to celebrate my 24th opening day in Major League Baseball, so that's coming up very soon. I am a Bay Area native. I was born in San Francisco, raised mostly in the East Bay. I spent all of my summers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I do feel like I have good ties to the eastern half of the United States. I love the areas that are back there, but the Bay Area just feels like home to me, feels really right to me. I've traveled all over the country and I still love the Bay Area. And I am really fortunate to grow up in an area that had multiple teams and multiple leagues. And when I was looking for a job in professional sports, taking a total flyer on being able to even get my foot in the door, I managed to get part-time jobs in 2002 with both the Giants and the A's on game days. And 2002 was Giants going to Game 7 of the World Series and unfortunately losing to the Rally Monkey. And then the A's winning 20 consecutive games, and that being epitomized in the movie and book Moneyball. So it was like, what a fantastic season, first season of professional sports. After that season, the A's hired me on full-time. And it was a great organization to grow in. It was relatively small. It was at a great time where Internet 2.0 was really sort of coming into itself. The league had sort of just recalibrated with every team and sort of pulled everybody under one digital umbrella. And I just continuously raised my hand to want to get into like more and more sort of marketing things, but ticket related. And that's really sort of the crux of my career now, which is like being able to motivate fan bases and consumers to buy tickets or buy products to things that really support the club that I'm working for.
You talk about that role right now, and to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, traditional paid media, digital advertising, brand, campaign development is really where your, even like product positioning, right, is even where you are currently at with your career. However, that isn't necessarily what you went to school for.
No.
And so I'm curious, again, a lot of our audience is college age or young professionals that are coming out of school or really still in school. I have no idea what they want to do. And they're like, well, my major's here and I have to go here. From what you're doing right now, which is very high level, very impactful for one of the top franchises in all of Major League Baseball, that's not where you started. Walk us through a little bit about what you majored in and how you got to this point.
So I'll give you a bit of backstory. So I was about 13 years old when I became a sports fan. Prior to that, didn't like sports at all. Wasn't into it. I got dragged to games at Candlestick. I got dragged to games at the Coliseum. Wasn't really into it. I was watching a TV program at about 13 years old, and on came like a commercial for one of the local teams' fan fests. And I turned to my mom. I said, "Hey, I'd like to go to some baseball games this year." And she's pretty floored, but it became sort of a activity that she and I would do on weekends. And we'd bring my friends and family would come to town. We'd go to games. We'd go to like 5, 6 games a year. It was great. Uh, Never really thought I could work in professional sports. Graduated high school in the East Bay. Went down for undergrad at UC Santa Barbara. I entered as a busy con major. I didn't necessarily love the courses when I first sort of entered. I didn't like a couple of the professors, didn't really vibe with them when I first got in. At that point, it wasn't really my forte. At the end of my freshman year, I was in a seminar class and it was a different guest speaker every week. And the second week was a professor named Otis Madison in the Black Studies department that came in. And he spoke for an hour. And a lot of it was about how people connect to each other, what makes somebody who they are. And I was completely floored by his lecture. And I thought, oh, I'm going to take a class with him. So I signed up for a class with him the following year. And I ended up taking seven classes from him, everything from, a few hundred students into a class to about 5 of us in one of his classes. Then I started taking other Black Studies courses, and I eventually changed my major to Black Studies. So African American Studies at some schools, Black Studies at UC Santa Barbara, and I graduated with a degree in Black Studies. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it, but I loved the curriculum. It was a lot of history. It was a lot of literature. It was a lot of, again, how people connect. Very similar to marketing in a lot of ways, but sort of like, at that point wasn't sort of putting that together. I thought maybe I would teach. I thought maybe I'll work in radio. I worked at the radio station in college, both behind the scenes and on air. But maybe I could do something behind the scenes in corporate life. And I actually applied for a job, was offered the job, turned it down. And I remember emailing the guy saying, I really want to work in professional sports. I'm going to take a shot at trying to get a job with one of the local baseball teams because the season was upcoming. Like, let's see what happens. And I remember him writing back being like, hey, good luck to you. Sure, he probably never thought it would actually happen. And here I am almost 25 years later, still in the league and feeling like I have a good place in it and have done a number of good things. So again, like back then, had no idea. I just wanted to get a degree and have something interesting. And I would say I lucked out a little bit being able to work in professional sports. It's hard to get your foot in the door. I talk to a lot of people through the clubhouse now and other places where they ask, like, how do I sort of maneuver? What makes me stand out in a certain way? There's a few things that I normally tell them. Like, one is find your story. Like, I see a lot of resumes that say, you're my favorite team. I realized I couldn't, cut it on the field anymore. So I really want to work behind the scenes. And all of that is honest and true and like really nice to read, but you see a lot of that. So one of the things I say is you can put that in there, but tell me an experience about how you persevered through something. I want to know what makes you tick. And I talk about it a lot with my wife. Like, our daughter is living better than we both grew up. And it's like, what is she going to have to persevere through that challenges her and makes her a more worthy colleague and employee so that you can really trust and rely on her in situations. Another one that I look at is, you don't have to work in sports previously, but I do want to see some indicator of interest in that space. So whether you volunteered for your school's athletic department, or maybe you worked for them, or maybe you did work somewhere tangentially in sports, I want to know that you have that passion for what it's like to work nights and work weekends and work holidays and miss important experiences and all of that sort of stuff, because it is a grind. You might be making a little bit of money when you start. There is money to be made later. But like, you have to have the passion and love for it. And there have been plenty of times where I've seen somebody enter into a front office and say, this is my dream job and I really love this and this is what I want to do forever. And 2 years in, they hit that burnout and they're like, I need a more normal job and I'm good with this now. And at least I had this experience. And it's like totally fine. It's not ultimately for everybody forever. It is a great experience. Like, you do work, in a lot of team settings and there is a lot of camaraderie that goes on. But I would like to see that on a resume in some way. And then for a marketer, like, I also want to see a propensity for numbers. Now, I said before, I went in as a busy con major. I didn't really vibe with it then. I have since, almost 20 years later, after graduating from my undergrad, went back to school. Almost 2 years later, got my MBA. So and I aced all my classes, and I did great at all my calculus classes. So I always had like good grades in like statistics classes. So I do feel like have a much stronger propensity and understanding of like the math calculations that go into marketing, which is so important. You can't be a marketer and rely on old tactics. I always say if I existed as a marketer today as I did 10 years ago when I was, sort of getting into this field, I would be out of a job because I wouldn't have been able to roll or change or adapt or any of that. So it is really important to exemplify in some way that you have a propensity for math. Now, what is that? Doesn't need to be your major, but if you take a course online and get a certificate in something, it indicates to me, oh, this person takes this just a little bit more seriously than this stack of other people. And that sort of like gets spotlighted for me, and I pull them out and want to have a conversation about
Whoa.
it.
Whoa. That was great.
You ask a simple question, you get a lot out of me, Tanner.
Hey, that is so. There's a couple things I want to unpack, and I think the first is I think everybody it blew by them, and I'm not sure anybody actually caught it. I think the word story doesn't surprise me you used it because that's what you do on a daily basis. The word story, you need to create your story. Your story is not everybody else's story. And just because you enjoy sports or played sports or have a passion for sports, all of those combined add up to, from my experience and in my opinion, about 0% of actual job application. Because most people that work in the sports industry specifically have all of those. So now you are 0% different than everybody else. So what is the story behind why you're passionate about sports? Mm-hmm. What is the story behind why you want to get into it? What is the story behind your experiences playing sports? Because being an athlete is very important. Talk to athletes in different universities across the country, and they're like, I don't have enough time to get into the industry, and I don't have time for internships and stuff. Your internship is what you're playing, the sport you're playing. You're learning discipline. You're learning how to collaborate with team members. Use that as your story to get in. So that was the first piece. I think a lot of people might have overlooked the word story being exactly who you are. You tell stories for a living, and you get stories behind brands. Brands exist because Travis LoDolce tells stories. Like, that's why brands exist, because you're telling stories. The second thing is perseverance. This is very low level, but you talk about your kids growing up better than what you did. And I think as a married man, once I have kids, I would like my kids to grow up better than I did. And I think that's probably where my parents lie as well. I thought I had a great childhood growing up. Right now, I live a pretty decent life. Callie and I are pretty stable in what we're doing. We both enjoy what we do. So how can we persevere? For me, I'm kind of crazy. I only eat sweets 2 days a week. And yesterday in the office, somebody brought by a freshly baked dozen of cookies, fluffy, beautiful chocolate chip, which is my favorite, and said, hey, I made these for you. Well, for our team, here's one for you. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. She's like, why? I'm like, I am disciplined. I'm trying to persevere through something mentally, has nothing to do with physically. And they're like, oh, 2 days. I'm like, yeah, in those 2 days, I could eat all of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like that doesn't matter. It's the discipline, the perseverance, because I'm in this role right now where we're doing all right and I want to be able to challenge myself. So the first thing was story. The second thing was perseverance. And the third that you had mentioned that I want to unpack a little bit because I agree with it is we did an episode on it. You're going to dive a little bit deeper and you're a living proof, but it's never too late. It's never too late. And you said that by going back to school, right? You were 20 plus years in your career and had a major that had nothing to do with what your career path was and said, guess what? Let me go challenge myself again. Let me go back to school. Let me go back and continue to learn. And I think that is super important. So thank you for what you just said. That was a masterclass that we just did in 5 minutes. Tell me a little bit about going back to school, because I think that's something where people are like, oh my goodness, I have a degree and I need to use it. Going back to school seemingly will always be there. What was that process like for you while having a full-time role?
Yeah, it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted a master's degree. I mostly wanted an MBA for a pretty long time. was something that I had thought about for probably 8, 9 years.
Mm.
And I just could never validate the time to be able to go and do it. And uh, it was a lot of it just had to do with the job that I was doing then in Oakland, where so much of my time, I was overseeing at one point 5 different areas. I was overseeing brand, I was overseeing all of our advertising, I was overseeing our social media. I mean, that never shuts down. That's 25 hours a day. I was overseeing promotions, I was overseeing creative. So overseeing all of those things, you are completely split in so many directions. And I had teams, but it wasn't a massive team. So you are very in the weeds on a lot of things while also trying to sort of like marionette everything at the same time. To be able to also have a personal life, whatever that existed in whatever form it was in, and layer on top of that, education just seemed totally out of the realm of possibility, especially since most of my days were, 9 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11. Like they were just, completely disruptive of a normal lifestyle to where you could set aside any sort of time for higher education. Um, it got to the point where I think I can fit this in. I think my role is changing enough. And then when I was moving from the A's to the Giants, it definitely seemed like I could fit it in. Going to the Giants, very robust team, a little more focused for me on just a couple different areas. And I felt like, okay, this is something I can layer in. And then if you have the ability, and then one thing that happened is um, the way that you can educate yourself totally changed in like the 9 years that I was thinking about it, where it used to be you have to go to a place, a brick and mortar place, and sit down and see the professor face to face and really learn that way. A lot of it's online now, maybe all of it's online, and you can totally shift the way that you're doing it. And you can really research programs that work right for you, that are both fully accredited and offer exactly what you're looking for in a way that allows you to fit it into your lifestyle. So I found a school in the LSU system, Shreveport, and it was totally remote and I could do it. Now there are certain requirements where you have to be online in front of somebody and proctor the exams, but the rest of it you can sort of like fit into your schedule. And then if you have the ability to align all of that with a global pandemic where you never have to leave your house for a year and a half, that works really well too. So all of that sort of happened at the same time. So I was, getting up at 8 a.m. and working my day job till, 5, 6 p.m. And then I would sort of hang out with the family for a bit. And then by 9, 10 at night, I would study and write papers and read until 1, 2 in the morning. And then I would just do that over and over again until you reach the weekend where you just fill it with schoolwork and proctored exams. So it's a lot. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot, but it was really valuable to me in the sense of a lot of it validated a lot of the things I was currently doing. A lot of it put names to things that I was currently doing. A lot of it opened up new avenues to explore, to introduce into my job. So much of it was time management, which I still use every day. I am a perpetual lifelong night owl. I love staying up late. It has always been my thing to stay up late. And throughout, right after my MBA program, I've completely shifted the way that I live. I now wake up at 5 in the morning and I'm in the gym by 6 and I'm done in there by like 7, 7:30, and I'm on my way to work at 8 and I work a full day and I no longer have to worry about trying to go to the gym when I'm tired after work.
Wow.
And I live that way now. Now I like going to bed at like 9, 10 at night. Maybe that's a process of age, but a lot of that is a process of my MBA program. So not only did it teach me a lot about work and teamwork and connecting with people and all of that and sort of galvanizing a lot of things, reconstructing a lot of things, relooking at a lot of things, but also just lifestyle and how I commit myself to something. It was a great experience for that too.
The opportunity to learn after having what most would seem like a successful career already for you, you sound so passionate about the opportunity of like, yes, I want to go and learn. That fires me up because obviously I'm young in this industry and I'm like, I want to keep learning. I always say I'll never chase a title or a promotion or a role. I will look to grow when I am done learning. When I'm done learning and can do my job front and back without thinking about it and it becomes monotonous, let me go learn something else, whether that's changing roles or taking on new responsibilities, whatever that might look like. But as soon as I'm done learning, in that role and it starts becoming monotonous, like, let me go learn. Seems like you're doing the same thing, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely can't be complacent in what you're doing. There are a lot of things that you have an internal algorithm in you, and uh, I call it. Some people call it gut. I like to call it intuition because gut seems like it maybe dumbs it down a little bit too much. But there's like an intuition that's built into you. And after so many years in this industry and seeing many iterations of things, and also like learning a lot in the process, I feel like I have a pretty solid algorithm of intuition. So when I see a product or I see a way to approach consumers or something along those lines, I feel like I can generally sort of get a good compass read on the direction that it should go. And then, like anything, and I always use Moneyball as the example because I came from a Moneyball background. I think the fallacy of the way people consume the story of Moneyball is scouts over here and data nerds over here, and never the two shall meet, and you have to pick a side. But really, it's somewhere in that middle area. It's that gray area, and like what percentage it is of like sort of where you're like landing. I think that's the important aspect to take. So I use the internal algorithmic intuition that I have after years in the industry and looking at sort of very quickly processing the information that I'm taking in and then going, okay, do we have the data to back that up, or can we test it with data, and then applying that to it and then figuring out exactly where we land with the message and the way that we're going out with that product or trying to reach people with it. I think that's sort of key, and that's always getting updated. So if I'm not learning, that's stuck somewhere and we're going to miss our mark.
Stay right there. I want to stay right there because you're a genius in this category. Coming out of
Nobody's ever used the G word for me, but yeah,
genius in the
much.
category.
Right.
Coming out of COVID, marketing as a whole and the way that people view brands change drastically. Tell us a little bit about what that process was like, maybe prior, going through, and now coming out of it, and what strategies you guys are taking, or that you can say on camera, that you guys are taking as a young individual listening could take and apply to their future career.
I think a couple things. I mean, certainly in the Bay Area too, we're much more cautious about leaving our houses, much more cautious about sort of going back into the world. I mean, San Francisco, I think, was the slowest city in the nation to sort of like return to normal after the pandemic. I think it's made great strides and continues to make great strides. And we have a new mayor and doing great things. And there's already a great fan base that's coming to Oracle Park. But things are a little bit different, and numbers and categories are a little bit different. I think one of the key things that we did coming out of the pandemic is positioning ourselves in a way that that really spoke to that message. And it's interesting. So like we were, when I arrived at the Giants in early 2020, we were going to launch a campaign, within the first few months I was there. And it was going to be a bit different from what the Giants were sort of had been doing the past few years. And then we had to pause it all because of the pandemic and everybody being sent home. We didn't have a brand campaign in 2020 because we played games without fans in the stands. But going into 2021, we really wanted to be able to sort of have a marker that identified like, yes, it's time to return. And our current social media director, she had noticed that our then manager was using the word resilient a lot. And in 2020, like the team is going to be resilient on the field. We may not win every game, but we're going to be resilient and come back and try harder tomorrow. And we thought like that could really be a word. You started to hear that word a little bit buzzy in just sort of everyday life. Hey, you have to be resilient to leave your house again. So we adopted that. We did a lot of thinking and critical thinking, but adopted that word as our tagline in 2021. So when we're opening up the ballpark again to fans, resilient was our tagline that year. And I think it spoke really highly to not only the type of team that was on the field, I'll get back to that in a moment, but also what it was like to return to normal, return to places of business again for the first time as people were finally leaving their houses and feeling semi-comfortable, but maybe not 100% comfortable with it. And even, when we opened up the ballpark, I think we had 8,000 tickets maybe for opening day, and then it opened up a little bit more until, first couple months in the season, it finally opened up to max capacity. And I think we owned that word, certainly in the Bay Area, which was really important. And the team on the field, getting back to that, won 107 games, set a franchise record for wins. Like
you guys were decent that year, huh?
everything was clicking. And I remember hearing, I think it was Dave Fleming or one of our radio broadcasters. It was a game in Milwaukee in August. We were down late. Um, we were down to 2 outs in the ninth. One of the Milwaukee Brewers outfielders missed a ball in the outfield. We ended up coming back and winning in extra innings. And Dave Fleming said after the win, I don't know what sort of crystal ball the marketing department had when they used the word resilient to describe this team, but boy, did they ever nail it. And I was like, that is so perfect, because not only did we show it on the field, but we backed it up in all of these other ways. So it was great. Aside from
I'll
all of that, oh yeah, go ahead.
no, keep going.
All right. Aside from all of that, your original question was like, how do marketers have to like maneuver uh, uh, in this landscape? And I think one of the most important things that we can do, and it's been a massive shift over a number of years, and I can think back, say 12, 13 years ago when, even using 10% of our budget towards performance marketing was sort of revolutionary, to the point now where we're easily entrenched in the 90% of our budget used on performance media. That has really spoken massive volumes for a direction that we need to go. Now, there is still importance for some traditional advertising, of course, but the ability to serve massive amounts of content on numerous channels and numerous places, constantly update, test, change that content, and really reach not only the core base, I mean, that's important, but really finding new consumers, people that don't yet know that they want to be Giants fans. Being the 13-year-old that I was and not knowing that, hey, I don't know if I ever want to go to a sports game, to all of a sudden becoming a baseball fan overnight, like that's the type of person that I'm trying to find. And a lot of that is like those touch points and being able to reach people in all of those digital channels, because we're all holding one of these smart computers in our hand and or in our pocket at all times. And that is easily reaching people on a small or big billboard, wherever they are. That's really interesting. So, and then seeing the results from that layered in also just continues to feed that beast and go, yes, more creative, more testing, more channels. What can we do? More budget. All of that becomes so important. So again, if I operated like I did 12 years ago, I'd still be throwing newspaper ads and billboards up on freeways. Like that has totally shifted into the devices that we hold in our hands.
You speak towards spoke to the story element earlier. We have an opportunity, me on the sales side, you on the marketing side, to legitimately change somebody's course of their life or their career. And that seems deep. That seems like, oh yeah, cool. You work in sports and you sell things, like you can change. Oh yeah, cool. Like you throw a couple social media posts up, you can change the world. We have an opportunity because sports are different than every other industry. Sports attract and bring people together like no other industry in this country. And that's the greatest part about it. And we do have, when you put out brand campaigns, I'm fortunate enough to have been in some of the rooms after campaigns have been created before they've been launched and walk through everything. And obviously not in the rooms that you guys are in, but understanding the depth that goes on and the behind the scenes of who are we looking to target? How are we looking to get the information to them? What feelings are we looking to elicit in the people, whether it's a billboard or a social media post, and all the different intricacies that go into that. And on our side, it's the sales aspect of, okay, yeah, you're selling tickets, but there's an opportunity to bring somebody courtside or batting practice or post game that's going to change their perspective of the sports industry and could potentially lead to a career path. It sure did for you, right? How have you been able to manage having an opportunity and an impact that large with consistently going after your day-to-day role and helping the Giants out?
I mean, my favorite thing is hearing from somebody wherever they may be that goes like, "Hey, you reached me on a personal level, and now I'm bought in."
Mm.
And I love those moments where there's an example. Oh, here's an example. So last year at a game, I was at home on a weekend, and we were having a home game on like a Sunday afternoon, and we saw a kid in the very top row of the third deck with a glove in his hand. Now there is very little chance that a ball is going to go up that high, but he brought his glove to the game. And Kruk and Kipe, or broadcasters on TV, they pointed him out on the TV. On TV, they talked about him. They, sort of chuckled at, oh yeah, he's got that glove up there. And immediately I'm on Slack. I'm slacking my colleagues and being like, who is at the game today? Could somebody get this kid a ball and go deliver it to him? And our social media folks immediately went, found a ball, brought it to him, recorded it, put it online. Like, that sort of stuff is amazing. A couple years ago, I was at a game, and one of our ball players hit a home run into a group of kids that were there for Little League Day. They were all dressed in their unis. And I was at the game, and I immediately ran out there, found the coach, found the kid, congratulated them, got their information, talked to the parents on the phone. We brought the kid back to a game to meet the player that hit the home run. We recorded all of it. We turned it into a mini TV spot that we had on air. Nothing like it as our brand campaign. So, hey, there's nothing like it. This sort of stuff can pop up at any point. I love that sort of stuff because it can ultimately reach a lot of people. But even if nobody sees it, that one person that had that moment, hey, the team recognized me, especially kids. The team recognized me. I got to meet this player, whatever it may be. That goes so far. And ideally, like, they grow up going, hey, you know what the Giants did for me once? They did this really nice thing. And then they tell somebody, and somebody tells them somebody, and somebody tells somebody, and it grows from there. Or the parents, know about this, and they go, you know what they did for a little kid? And they start talking about it. It's just sort of a community aspect. You mentioned, like, we can change somebody's life. Like, sports is there for entertainment. Yep. But we are really a community brand. Like, it is a place to gather. Generations of people come to games. We've people that travel out from New York every year to come to San Francisco Giants games because they remember the New York Giants from back in the day, decades ago. But it means something to people. It means something to families. It's a safe place to come, and Oracle Park is an absolutely beautiful place to come. Best ballpark in the country, hands down. All of that becomes really important to the fabric of what makes a city, what makes a fan base. And I love being a shepherd of that during my time at the Giants.
I love that. Well, my father and I are actually doing a trip out to California to see all 5 stadiums this summer. So I have not been to Oracle Park yet, but I guarantee this summer I will be there. So we'll have to meet up then.
That's great.
Oh, man, this is great. You're an incredible storyteller. So tell us one of the most impactful moments for your career, professional-wise, whether it was a teammate being grown or a campaign that did really well, like the most impactful professional, and then also the most impactful personal story that you've had through sports, through your career.
This is about an individual, or this is about just a proud moment?
This is about you.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's sort of like you just do stuff and you move on. You don't try to dwell too much on the past. I mean, I am incredibly proud by a couple things. I'm incredibly proud by, like, my general ability to, as we already talked about, sort of learn new things and roll and grow. And I see a lot of people around me do it too. So it's not like, it's just me. So I'm very proud about that. I'm proud about a lot of the brand campaigns I've helped launch. Nothing like it. Our current campaign in San Francisco speaks a lot about not only the team on the field, but also the experience that you have and the traditions, but also new traditions that the Giants hold, that baseball in general holds. I think it speaks volumes to the ability to reach numerous different types of people. If you love, great baseball on the field, there's nothing like it. If you love a day in the sun, there's nothing like it. Like this, it's a great place for all those things. Oracle Park, watching on TV is a great place for all those things. So I think that's really important. If you go back to my Oakland years, like, it may not mean a lot now, and it may be sort of the butt of jokes now, but Rooted in Oakland was kind of my baby. Like, my boss and I and a couple other people were trying to think of like a new direction to go at the time. And he came in one day and he said, I have this new idea. we've been talking about, the next campaign that we want to do and what that tagline should be. And I think I figured it out this weekend. Think of Oakland and the tree, rooted in Oakland. And I was like, yep, right there. Like, you already know. Like, that's that, algorithmic intuition that I was talking about before. Like, you just knew it right away. And then went through this whole cycle of like sort of coming up with it and working with an agency to really develop it. And, and, and it was great. And, at launch too, like traditionally back then you shoot commercials with players, and traditionally what you do is you go down to spring training and you shoot in your spring training facility, and you just get more stuff, and it's all sort of like a closed in area. Players are available there. And I really fought for filming the spots on the streets of Oakland.
Mm.
And it was a big debate. And we ultimately had to have the president of the company like really hear out all the sides. And he was like, I think we need to shoot him in Oakland. And the reason why is because I professed you can't have a campaign called Rooted in Oakland with cactus in the background. It's just not a good look. But if you shoot these things on the streets of Oakland where people can see you, it's rededicating yourself to the city. Players are there. You can invite, reporters out. They can cover each commercial shot that we're going to get. You're connecting with, businesses in the area as well, because we shot at some different businesses. It was really like regrounding themselves in the city. And it was a very heartfelt campaign. Now, again, I know they're not in Oakland anymore, but I felt like that was a really proud moment for me, watching that sort of develop, and at the time meant a lot. And then I would just say, like, there have been numerous folks that I've been able to either hire into the industry or train early in their careers. Some folks have stayed in the industry and moved to other teams. Some folks have moved on to other businesses. But watching their careers grow and knowing that like maybe I had a small part of getting them started down whatever career path they've had, means a lot to me. Like, I feel like I'm really good at assessing people and hiring the right person for the right position, and putting them in a position where they feel like they have enough ownership, but can still learn enough and listen to me enough to help guide them, and also working together really closely on projects so that we're developing the best product. And it's just not me. I never want to hire somebody exactly like me, because then we're just duplicating exactly what I think. But if I can hire somebody with a different background or a different interest, an outside interest outside of sports, all of that becomes really tangential to creating a better product, a better message that reaches more consumers in a thoughtful way and turning them into true fans.
Wow, I love that. And you say true fans, and as you're talking about that, rooted in Oakland, a couple taglines come to mind, just like me personally, that I'm not sure people are, the normal fan, are aware that it's a marketing campaign that is what's happening. The Go Pack Go. Somebody at some point, that was probably a marketing campaign, right? I went to the University of Iowa. Like, everyone around, every time you see an Iowa person, it's Go Hawks, right? Like, somebody started that somewhere. When I was in Miami, it's fins up, right? Like, look, I'm still doing the dolphin fin on my forehead. Those are campaigns that are started that are really transcending how people view sports and the community that is brought. Because now every time I see a Hawkeye shirt, Go Hawks, like, everybody's like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, why you're there, you are now connected with that brand and that saying. So it's cool to hear it from your perspective of how those come together and what those mean on your side, because we feel it on our side as fans as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of thought that goes into these things. There's a lot of like surveying and data and again, intuition that goes into development of these campaigns, really trying to vet the right things, find the right stuff. I always find it's fantastic when it's true to the team itself. So if it's, what's an example, like, go, if the tagline was Go Giants, you could apply that to any team. You could say Go Rangers or Go Packers or, Go Sharks or whatever it may be, like, not really owned by the team itself. But if there's something that you can find that actually speaks to the true community of the club, I think that's where you find more legs, and it really starts to embed itself in the fan base. When it's not generic, when it's actually true, that's where it's great. And the best marketing you could ever have is like stuff that fun fans come up with. I love seeing fans in the ballpark holding up signs or dressing up or coming. There's somebody now that comes to Giants games with a giant bunny rabbit. It's like a therapy rabbit, I think, but it's huge and it sits in somebody's lap at games. It's the calmest bunny rabbit I've ever seen. But I love those type of characters that come to games. Like that's amazing. And people come by and they pet it and they show it on TV and it's character. And when you play 81 home games and 162 games over the course of a season, to have that sort of variety and see different faces and different animals and whatever it may be, I think all of that just leads to a better day in, day out community of whatever fan base there is, whatever team there is. And we have a unique, fun bunch in San Francisco. I mean, we got kayakers out in the water, like you hit home runs out there. It's
Every game
fantastic.
day, you guys
So
are packed
unique.
out there.
Nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Like the tagline says.
Oh, man, I love it. All right, last question for you today before we wrap it up. Actually, before I ask my last question, what did I miss? Anything that I missed that you would find valuable for young people in their careers? Anything that I missed at a fun story, a fun campaign that you guys did that you find that you would find valuable for our listeners?
I would not necessarily that, but I would double down again on something that I look for in, and I hit on it a moment ago, on somebody's resume or somebody that's looking to break into professional sports, particularly marketing, maybe different in other departments, but a life outside of sports. I think that's also important. So as much as you can say like, hey, I love sports, I really want to work in this industry. Here's the proof that I have. Here's my proof and data, all of that sort of stuff. Knowing that you also have a life outside of sports is important. Because if you're only into sports and you only eat, breathe, sleep and breathe sports, you're only going to be able to talk to that sports community. But if you can find other people in other communities, it's part of the reason why I find, working on heritage nights or on, university nights or other IPs, like we're going to be working with Pokemon Go this year. We're going to be working with Minecraft this year. We work with Star Wars. We work with Hello Kitty. All of these things are really popular or going to be really popular. And part of it is because you find a community in that space. You start to, overlap that Venn diagram and hopefully it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe it's their first time wanting to come to a game. Maybe they've never even thought about coming to a game, but they go, I really want that Hello Kitty jersey. I think I'm going to come out and get there early and walk through the gate and get that thing. And they come and it's up to us to show them a great time. We've got a great game entertainment group at the Giants. We've got great ballpark employees that are very welcoming to people coming to sit in their seats. So as that fan sits there, they're admiring their Hello Kitty jersey, they watch a great game, they watch great entertainment, and they go, all right, I want to come back again. Like that's so important. And then you just replicate that. Maybe they just go to the Hello Kitty game every year. Maybe you can get them to come to a second game in a year, whatever it may be. We want to make sure that this is a place where they're welcome and they can come back. And, it starts with the initial fishing line that I'm trying to cast along with the other folks that I work with to, hook them, bring them in, reel them in. And then it's up to us to sort of show them a great time. So again, like making sure that somebody looking to break into this industry has a life outside, has interests outside, and can apply that to their work in marketing. I think that is going to go a long way for them as well.
Two things. One, I hope the Hello Kitty jersey is right around the 4th of July because that's when my dad are coming out there. If it's not, maybe if we could change it to one of those games, that'd be cool.
We'll save you one, man. We'll save you one.
The second thing is that is so important. I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast because it doesn't come up a lot. My sports consumption since working in sports has decreased significantly.
Yeah.
And there's two reasons behind that. One, I want to be focused in my premium role on businesses and developing businesses. So I don't talk about the team I work for a ton. Obviously, that's important. But I want to be focused on business. The second is I need a life outside of work. And if my wife, all we ever do is talk about sports, watch sports, and then I go and work in sports, and then all my friends are in sports. We had that a little bit in Miami, and because it was early in the career and we were all kind of all right out of college, 22 to 24-year-old individuals, it's kind of all right. But it has dropped significantly because you need to find other passions and other time to let your brain soak in other information, because I might look out the window today or watch a TV show tomorrow that they do something for brand or for sales. And I'm like, whoa, yeah, I'm gonna need to do that in my industry, right? I'm gonna need to do that over here. So that is so important. Echoing your point, my sports consumption has decreased significantly since entering the industry. All right, last question for you. What does attitude, effort, results mean for you?
Attitude, effort, results. I mean, is it an equation? That's what it would mean to me. I mean, I would take it as a math equation. Attitude plus effort equals results. I mean, that's completely what it is. Like if you go in with a constructive, team-oriented, open mind, that's the attitude part. The effort, the ability to persevere, the desire to succeed, the desire to go 110%, desire to put in the extra time and effort, the desire to test and iterate, the desire to really think about what it is that you're about to process through. That's the effort part. And then what was the third one? Results. I mean, that speaks for itself, right? So it's the equation at the end. It's the end result, and seeing the product that you've developed out there in the world, and being proud of it, and watching people, connect with it in whatever way they do, whether they're buying the product, whether they're consuming the product, whether they're watching it, whether they're downloading it, whatever it may be. So I would totally hear that and think of a math equation.
I love that. That is great. If I could legally put plus and equal signs in an LLC name, I think I would. I have thought about that a lot, but they don't necessarily enjoy that in legal entities. So we'll just stick with attitude for results moving forward. Thank you so much. This is awesome. I appreciate you valuing your time. Obviously, you are busy, especially this time of year. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much for being on here. We provided some great content on the marketing side, which is important. We've provided some great stories, but also we've provided insight that most people won't get in their everyday lives.
Tanner, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Great conversation with you. It's great to see you again, and I can't wait to see you walk into Oracle Park for the first time this summer.
I am so excited for that. My dad and I are big baseball people. We're trying to do all the stadiums in the country. So if anybody knows any other people in the California range that is looking to give away some tickets, my dad and I are open. All right, let's inspire others and continue to grow together.